Is it ever okay for a woman to cheat on her man? Is it ever okay for a woman to cheat on her husband? That's the question today. The answer is no, it is never okay for a woman to cheat on her husband or her man. Now, if you listen to the question that I just posed, it really answers itself. Is it ever okay for a woman to cheat? The word cheat is indicative of something that's being done wrong. So, the answer is really in the question. We all know that cheating is wrong. So, why would a woman cheat on her man, on her husband? It could be for revenge. Maybe because he has cheated. It could be because she's bored with him at some point in their relationship. Maybe he doesn't please her sexually as he may have at one point in their relationship as well. Maybe he has lost his job and he cannot provide as much as he did earlier in their relationship. Maybe he is talking down to her and discouraging her and making her feel insignificant, and she's fed up. Maybe she doesn't feel as though he's her strength and she wants to perhaps seek that somewhere else. Whatever her reason is, ladies, whatever your reason is, if this is you, it's not good enough. Even if your husband is physically and emotionally abusing you, that is no reason to cheat on him. Now, there was a time in your relationship when you got together, you and your man, ladies, and there was some appeal there. There was something that drew you to him. If that something is no longer there, then you must do it the right way. You must approach it the right way, as a mature adult should. And that's simply communicate with your partner, with your husband, your man. You never, ever break your bond with your mate, ladies, in this instance, just because of something that you're dissatisfied with. Cheating is infamous. Cheating is sinful. Cheating is something that should never be mentioned in any relationship. You are, in a great sense, abandoning your man and seeking attention elsewhere. The best way, as I just said, is to have communication. If you can't be honest with him by sitting down with him and expressing how you feel about whatever the subject is that's causing you to not be in love with him anymore or to love him anymore, then cheating is not the answer, because that stands to have greater ramifications if he finds out, or when he finds out. You tend to bring about more damage doing things that way as opposed to just sitting down and talking it out. You sit in front of that man, no distractions, no counselors, no family members, just you and him, because he's the one who you've slept with all of this time. Not your mother, your father, your sister, your cousins, your brothers, your aunts, your uncles, or your children. He's the one that you have the relationship with. And he is the one who you should try to mend the relationship with or dissolve the relationship with. That's the proper way. So I don't know what your reason is. If this is you just listening to me right now, I don't know what your reasons were, if it's something that has happened in time past. But what I do know, for you to be the better person and the bigger person, the adult, the mature adult, you need to sit down with your husband or your man and say, listen, I would like to talk to you earnestly, honestly, about how I feel. And if you feel like, ladies, that it cannot be reconciled, your relationship that is, then you let him know that as well and tell him that you want to move on. And if he complies and consents to that, trust and believe he's going to appreciate you for coming to him that way as opposed to going behind his back and sleeping with someone else. I'm serious. Because it's painful to be cheated on. You feel alone. You do feel abandoned. And there is a pain there that seems to be and can be never ending because you have been betrayed. The same is true with an affair. If you cheat, it could just be one time. It could be a couple different times with someone. Just because you're angry, upset, or whatever. But when you have an affair, ladies and gentlemen, feelings are involved then. You and that other person, that other man. This is equally bad. So, if you have been thinking about cheating on your man, you may want to reconsider and have a talk. It is unfair and it's just simply not right for any woman in this particular instance to devastate a man's life by being unfaithful to him. If you haven't already ascertained, I have been cheated on before. Someone that I loved truly from here. But I come to find out, I came to the realization that the young lady didn't love me the same. Now I know this might sound like a soap opera spiel, some fairy tale or story. But anytime you play with someone's feelings, it's real. I already decided in my life early on that I wanted to have a family and to settle down and to live life as the fairy tales that we grew up hearing, the picket fence and the house and the dog and these types of things. But it didn't quite work out that way for me. For me personally, in my own life, what I came to realize, and this is my story in brevity, if you will, for me personally, I believe oftentimes the people that we come in contact with are not where we are, especially as we perceive and how we perceive life and our spiritual insight. Such was the case with me. My companion at the time attracted me, not only physically, but what I felt was intellectually at some point. But you live and you learn, as the saying goes. And I did learn at some point in time that the real her began to show up over a period of time. And I didn't like what I saw. The image that I originally believed that attracted me began to become dismantled. And I began to see something that I didn't see in the beginning. I saw dishonesty. I saw secrecy. I saw a revengeful person when I had done nothing to warrant that. All because I would ask questions. I was received as if I were a stranger at some point. Her bearing my children even didn't feel good. And as I look back now, it still doesn't feel good knowing that I had went through that. But it was experience, a life lesson played out on a real stage. So I made it through it. I'm here to talk about it. And I'm here to say this. Oftentimes, and this could be on either side, the man or the woman's side, but in this particular regard, I'm talking about a woman cheating on a man. But oftentimes, when you men represent something, oftentimes because you represent something, and that something that you represent is of value, sometimes you receive jealousy from within. And you may not see it at first, but it's there. Sometimes when you receive attention from even other females because of what you represent, you may receive resentment from your companion. But it's no doing of your own. It just simply happens because you illuminate people when you represent something positive. Not to say that you won't have enemies and people who are detractors and who don't like you. But when people see that you honestly have some value and that you draw attention to yourself in a positive way, your spouse can be your worst enemy sometimes. Not in all cases, but sometimes. And unfortunately, those numbers have been increasing over the past several decades, especially amongst black women and men. So, to sum it up, the question was posed at the beginning of this video: is it ever okay for a woman to cheat on her man or her husband? The answer again is no. What is okay and what is appropriate is that she be a woman, a mature adult, and she approach her man or her husband and bear the truth and say, this is what I feel, this is where I'm at, and let him go. Don't continue to string him along and make him feel as though you see things the same and you're on the same wavelength, and that there's a cohesiveness there, because it's not. And ladies, you know it's not. So stop disguising yourself as someone who's there for him, because he really does need someone to be there for him. And if you're not the one that's there for him, let him go so that he can find someone who will be there for him and who will be honest and will comfort him through the trials and the tribulations that you both will undergo in life. Till death do you both apart. This is Brother Teacher. Have you experienced this, men? And ladies, have you been guilty of cheating on your man or your husband and not woman enough to approach him and be honest with him and tell him really that you don't love him at all? It is best to tell him and have him go through that pain of that potential separation than to be living in the same house and in all actuality you really are separated. He just doesn't know it. This is Brother Teacher. I love you. Yahweh love you. You have a blessed evening, afternoon, or morning, depending on where you are. And so long.